Welcome to Math with Mrs. Cox. We are on Chapter 10, Lesson 5, Hands-On. This is on page 733. Now, the easiest way for me to explain this is when you're doing these models, you need to look at the denominator. There is 3. And look, there's 1, 2, 3 rows. And then the next number, the denominator, has 4. So then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. That will help you figure out how to shade these. Okay, divide the squares into 3 rows. Since the denominator of the first fraction is a 3. Divide the square into 4 equal columns, since the denominator in the second fraction is a 4. Shade the portion of the model where the 1/3 and the 1/4 intersect, or where they meet up. How many portions of the model are shaded? 1. That is correct. Write a fraction that compares the number of shaded sections to the total number of sections. So they want you to do a fraction. So there is 1 that is colored, and there are 12 total squares. So 1/3 times 1/4 is 1/12. Of course, if you did it the regular algorithm way, you would say 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 4 is 12. Find 1/2 times 2/3, right in simplest form. Again, we have a 2, so there's 1, 2 rows. We have a 3, so there's 1, 2, 3 columns. So divide the square into 2 equal rows, since the denominator is 2. Divide the square into 3 equal columns, since the denominator of the second fraction is 3. Shade the portion where they meet up. And how many of the sections are shaded? There are 2. So there are 2 out of 6, and we're going to simplify that down to 1/3. So if we did 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6, and it simplifies down to 1/3. Okay, we're going to skip this one and head right over here to the practice. Here we go. Now I'm going to have you do the algorithm first and then shade it in. 1 times 2 is 2. 6 times 3 is 18. So there are 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there are 3 columns. So we need to shade 2 out of the 18. So it's going to look like this. 2 out of 18. We have, then it's going to simplify down to 1/9. Okay, number 5. 3 times 1 is 3. 5 times 3 is 15. So out of this little model over here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because there's a 5. Then we have 3, 1, 2, 3 columns. We're going to shade 3 out of the 15. And it's going to simplify down to 1/5. Let's circle our answers today, shall we? Number 6. 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 6 is 24. And here we have it set up. We have 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 6 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we are going to shade 3 out of the 24. And that's going to simplify down to 1/8. Number 7, we're going to do 3 times 3 is 9. 5 times 4 is 20. So here we have 5 rows and 4 columns. So we are going to shade 9 out of the 20. And this will simplify down. Nope, it is as simplified as it will get. Okay, 9/20 is our answer. Number 8, we have 3 times 1 is 3. 5 times 5 is 25. There's 5 by 5. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're only going to shade 3 out of this whole entire section. And it is simplified. That's as simplified as it can get. 3/25. Number 9, 1 times 3 is 3/10. So we are going to have 2 rows and 5 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to shade in 3/10 of this, which is going to look like this. And that is as simplified as it will get. Number 10, 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 5 is 20. So we have 4 rows and 5 columns. We are going to shade 6 out of the 20. So that's going to look like this. And wait, I got to simplify that one. So that'll be simplified down to, I can divide them both in half, so that'd be 3/10. Number 11, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9. We have 3 rows and 3 columns. Yes, we do. And we are going to shade only 4 out of the 9. And that's what it's going to look like. And we can simplify that down. Nope, we can't. We can't split them in half or anything. So that's what it's going to look like. Okay, let's hop on right over to our homework. Okay, now remember the first number is how many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The second denominator is how many columns? 1 to 2. Then we multiply where they intersect. So we will fill in 2 out of the 10. And it works out to be, simplifies down to 1/5. Here we go. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is, well, 4. So on this section, we're only going to shade in 1 out of the 4. And that is as simplified as it will get. Okay, number 2, 4 times 1 is 4. 5 times 2 is 10. So we're going to shade 4 out of 10 of these. And we can simplify that down to 2/5. And look, that has 5 rows and 2 columns. Next page. Charlotte spent half of the day, that usually means times, of means times, shopping at the mall. She spent 1/4 of this time trying on jeans. What fraction of the day did Charlotte spend trying on jeans? So we have 1/2, and then we have this little of, which is our clue that it is multiplication, and then 1/4. So we have draw models to help you solve these exercises. So our first clue is our model is going to have 2 rows. So 2 rows. This is going to tell us how many columns. There's our columns. And let's times it out. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 4 is 8. We're only going to shade in 1 out of 8 of those. So our answer is 1/8. And there's our model. Number 4, Mrs. Hendricks is buying a rectangular piece of land. Okay. 2/3 of a mile on one side and 5/6 of a mile on an adjacent side, which is mean a side just next to it. What is the area of the piece of land? Okay, so here's what it looks like. 2/5 times 5/6. Now that looks pretty crazy, but they're just trying to set up the problem so you realize it is a multiplication problem. So we're going to do 2/5 times 5/6. To find area, you do length times width equals the area. So we're going to times this number times this number. Okay, here we go. Now, to draw a model, we're going to have 5 rows. And 6 columns. Not perfectly even, but that's okay. 6 columns. Okay, let's figure it out. 2 times 5 is 10. 5 times 6 is 30. So I'm going to shade 10 out of 30 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. 10 out of 30 is going to be shaded. And I know that can simplify down. 10 will go into 10 one time. 10 will go into 30 3 times. So my answer is going to be 1/3 of a square mile. I'm going to circle my answer. Okay, number 5. Kenta cross-country skied a trail that was 3/4 of a mile each way. After skiing 2/3 of the trail, she turned around. What fraction of the mile did Kenta ski before she turned around? Okay, they're trying to get you to just find a multiplication problem. So we have 3/4 times 2/3. Now remember, this first number is how many rows we have for our model. 1, 2, 3, 4. This next number tells us how many columns. So I'm going to divide this into thirds. There we go. So let's figure it out. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 3 is 12. So 6 out of the 12 are going to be shaded in. And I'm just going to shade them in like that. And we know that we can simplify that. 6 will go into 6 one time. 6 will go into 12 twice. So she skied a half a mile. Number 6, Miriam spent 3/4 of her allowance at the mall. Of the money spent at the mall, 1/3 of it was spent on new earrings. What part of her allowance did Miriam spend on her earrings? So we have 3/4 of, tells us it's multiplication, 1/3. Okay, let's draw a model. This number tells us how many rows. This number tells us how many columns. So let's figure it out. 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 3 is 12. So we're going to color 3 out of the 12. And it will simplify down. 3 will go into 3 one time. 3 will go into 12 4 times. So our answer is 1/4 of her allowance. Lex ate some of the apples that her mother brought home from the farmer's fair. 1/2 of the apples, so 1/2 is going to look like this, were left over. Star ate 1/6 of the apples that were left over, so times 1/6. What fraction of the apples did Star eat? So our model is going to have 2 rows. 2 rows and 6 columns. Drew that kind of funny. That's okay, though. We'll just fill that in. There we go. So 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 6 is 12. So we're only going to shade in 1 out of these 12 little spots. And that is what fraction of the apples Star ate. All right, ladies and gentlemen.